Hey everyone, how's it going? Juan Dhas here, and welcome back to what is really another lesson video. I know it's been a little bit of a time away, but I thought this would be a good one to dive back in, and it's in support of my new linear pack, Creative Melodic Lines. By the way, a huge thank you to every single one of you that's picked up a copy so far. It's been really heartwarming to see some of the messages come in, to see people working on the lines, and some of the support that this little pack has received over on Instagram. So I wanted to do this video to kind of expand a little bit on the premise of the book and how you should really go about using it and how I recommend people go about using it. So let's dive right into the heart of the matter. Why did I write this book? What's the premise behind it? Why did I suddenly decide to come out of this with this pack? And one thing that was, I was going through a moment where I was kind of a little frustrated with how my lines were sounding, and I wanted to kind of break out or use the new ideas I'd been working with in a different way. So, I confided in a friend of mine, and you know very well who you are. Thanks so much, man. But they recommended that I write some lines, just being very conscious about what I would like, and then work them into my playing. And I had an hour to write these. So I wrote maybe 3 or 4, and then I wrote a couple more after that. And I found myself very inspired by the process, and it did open up some new ground. And I saw that stuff that I was working on was starting to come out in a very natural way. So this proves to be a great way to get yourself out of some ruts. And sometimes I might have to take that advice a little more regularly. But getting into it, now the people who might know me might know that I'm not really a linear kind of guy, in the sense that I don't do lines packs per se, as I find that they're just kind of a quick fix and they don't necessarily really teach you how to improvise. So what I did was I put in about a how to use this book section, and I hope that people who pick it up read it, and I hope that's like my little drop in the ocean to hopefully help people become better improvisers and better musicians. And what I'm encouraging people to do is take these lines, really break them down to their essential parts, so that not only can you use the line as vocabulary and language, but you can manipulate it at will, or you can manipulate little fragments, so suddenly this opens up your own creativity, as opposed to parroting a line from somebody else. Okay, so let's get into it. How do you use this book? First step 1, learn one of the lines. We're gonna work with line number 3 today, I think it was. It was this one. Sorry, I should have been, F sharp major arpeggio at the end. And we'll get into the analysis and all of that in a bit. So I'm going to use that as the source material today and use that line as an example for how I would work on this if I were someone who had just picked up the book, and how I would want students to work on this. So the first step is to figure it out. Now, what I recommend, go slow, go as you need to. There is tab in the book, and there are also standard notation for anyone who doesn't want to read tab, doesn't like tab, or just wants the additional challenge of challenging their reading skills and reading abilities. The tab is there if you want to see what my fingerings are. I would also suggest change your fingerings about as needed. Some of the fingerings may not be the most comfortable for you, and I've addressed that in the book. We all have different physiologies. Our hands react in different ways. Some people have longer fingers, more flexible hands, a larger palm. Make of that what you will. So find fingerings that are comfortable for you, otherwise it will be hard to use this line and hard to work with it, especially when you start transposing. Getting to that later. So I would learn the line verbatim. There are also fast and slow videos for each line. Now, the next step, I would start transposing this. And this might be a bit of an arduous process and might be a little longer, but the idea is to find different fingerings. Now, some of these lines, a caveat, and something I really have to mention, some of these lines, like this one, they have an absolutely massive range. For example, it goes all the way from, lowest note is this low D sharp over here, all the way to that high F sharp. So we're already exceeding a 2-octave range with this one line. And it's kind of in a part of the instrument where it's kind of mid-rangey already. You've covered a lot of range on the instrument. So it might be hard to transpose all of it. So take chunks as needed. For example, let's say I was going to start on the second string. And then I can connect it to what I already know. I can even start it on the root up here. Right? And then I would start the F sharp major arpeggio here. And obviously I don't have a high F sharp up here, you know. I've only got my high E, so that might be a little problematic. This is where you would transpose another section of the phrase, like let's say that huge F sharp arpeggio. I could do it an octave down. And just kind of take the parts that work with each given range. Maybe I might start putting it into new keys. So this is the important thing to help internalize the sound of the line. Actually, before we get to that, do an analysis of the line. So what is the context? This is kind of a 1-5-1 or a 5-1 kind of line. Starting on the root, the home key, we have a descending chromatic phrase to the flat 7. And the third of the 5 of 4. B major, right? This then goes to E minor, which is 4 minor, so resolves were expected. 7 diminished. F sharp implied. And then we descend with B minor. So that's kind of the general gist of what the line is. Now I would start putting it in different keys. So let's say, okay, half step up, C minor. And try listen out for all of those harmonic devices that we just mentioned, or those harmonic movements, should I say. This helps kind of get your ear to adjust to the sound of the line and really internalize it on a deeper level. Half step down. F, resolving down to B flat minor, right? What if I tried it starting on a different string? Let's say I tried it in E minor. You know, I could do it up here. Try sing the line if you can. You don't have to be the world's greatest singer, just kind of get in the ballpark of the intonation for each note. Now, what if I did you know, there, right? That's starting on the second string. Or I could try connect it with the line, with the fingering I already know. Remember here we started with, so I could do, that's maybe a much more useful fingering. Do this in different parts of the instrument, or different parts of the instrument, because this is key to getting yourself to understand it and then be able to move it about in a different scenario. So let's say now I want to learn how to use this line, put it into a tune. So let's say anywhere there's a big 5-1, let's say maybe 5 for 2 measures, or 1-5-1, I would then put this into a tune. So let's say, or 2-5-1 even, like a long 2-5. So let's say, let's pick an easy tune, like Autumn Leaves, right? And this, let's say, or Autumn Leaves? Yeah, why not? Let's do Autumn Leaves. So let's say whenever that G minor pops up, I've got to learn how to use the line in that moment, right? So here, Or I would have to find a fingering here. And I might have to alter the line. So there, that's a cool fingering. I actually quite like that. And it makes now it's in deepening my understanding of that line. And I might have to come up with different endings. We'll get to that in a bit. So try it. C minor. And then right? So now I can start moving it into different tunes. Or let's say, I don't know, maybe try it in Cole Porter's What Is This Thing? Well, I Love You? Or What Is This Thing Called Love? One of the two. Right? But it's a major resolution at the end, so be mindful of that. So then use it. Or or same idea, try find a different root. Be sure to target the 5. And make a major version. Now, when you see me tackling the major version, this is a great example of how you should probably go about starting to make these lines your own. Yes, you can take the line and then turn it into... You can take it verbatim and play it like that and it'll work. But what I would recommend, come up with your own endings. What if you ascend B minor at the end of that? Or add a little melodic ending at the end. Or what if you did... extend the 5 chord even more, right? But I also advocate another thing. One thing I've mentioned in each of the breakdowns is that these lines are essentially formed up of multiple parts. And to really get the most out of the line, the lessons don't only lie in learning the whole line so much as learning the little individual fragments that make up the line so that you can eventually manipulate and learn the language and learn this information. So for example, for this line alone, part 1, right? That's a cool little resolution to remember. Then, right, that's another little thing. Another part, and then another part. I forgot how many I referred to for this line in particular. I think it was like I think it was either 4 or 5 different parts, but this is just how I'm visualizing it right now in this instance. 1, 2, 3, and it's debatable. You could consider the last part 4. I would probably consider it 4 and then 5. You can take any one of these and then break it apart. So let's just say this little intro thing. Right? There's a resolution to major. or to minor, right? Very important. So now I can take that and suddenly that's a piece of my language. Let's apply that to Autumn Leaves, right? Yeah. Then that's just taking that one little fragment. So now it's not the whole line, but we've learned two amazing pieces of information. We've learned the whole line, the whole big long one, and then we've learned this little one tiny thing that's probably much more useful for us. What about implying, so what, 5 or 4, 4, and then 7. Or just that general triadic movement. Same thing. Let's give it a go. So, okay. You know, there I'm now using that whole triadic approach. There's part of the other line. That's a good resolution for minor. Right? Or just, let's say, so there I've got to remember to hit the minor triad and then go straight to the 5 chord. So let's do, helping me visualize it easier. What if I did that on, you know, this is all information that's available in just one line. This is why I only included 8 lines, because it's just a treasure trove of stuff that you can dive into, and I'm still doing the work. Some of this is just slowly coming out in my playing, and I wanted to share that with you guys. So all in all, I hope this video was really helpful for you all, and gave you an idea of how you can go about really internalizing the information and really internalizing some of the lessons in this book. I hope it brings you a lot of cool stuff, a lot of new ideas, a lot of new discoveries, and hey, happy practicing. Until then, I'll see you in the next video. Take care.